Hello, class. This is Mrs. Juliana. I hope your COVID-19 seclusion is going well. This is our class that's going to be online from here on out, I guess, or at least until May 1st. And so I'm going to make a couple of videos. And what you'll see if you go online, you're going to find a packet that looks like this. You're going to come up with a congruent triangles packet, and you can print it off. Now, if you can't print it off, then go ahead and come to the school and just do a drive-by over by the math door. And when you drive by the math door, you're going to notice a table that has all of the packets out there that you can actually come and pick up if you have no way of printing it off. But you're going to want to print it off. It's Unit 16. We're on to congruent triangles. And I'm going to teach it via 2 videos. And those 2 videos will come online as I get them made. I'll try to get them done today before I leave. And then once you fill out the packet at the very end, after it's all done, and everything's there, then you will submit it. And then you can either scan it and submit it, or you can take pictures of each page and submit that. But there's a little submit button at the top of the Unit 16 page that you'll be able to find and submit your assignment. So what I'm going to do today is go through congruent triangles as our first lesson. We'll be doing this first part in our first video and then the second part in the second video. So with congruent triangles, we're on to a whole new unit. What it means to be congruent. If I have 2 triangles, and they are the exact same triangles, then we call them congruent triangles. You can put a little congruent sign between the 2 there. All right, so if I draw 2 triangles and I know for sure they're congruent, then what that means is this angle's measure is equal to this angle's measure. This angle's measure is equal to this angle's measure. All right, and then the third measure is equal to the third measure of the angle. So what happens is you have 4 congruent triangles. You have everything, every measure in the angles as far as they go, exactly the same. Okay. Now that's not the only thing. This side right here is congruent to this side in measure. So if one's 10, the other's 10. Okay. This side right here will be equal in measure to this side right here. This side and this side. If it's 12, this side will also be 12. Now what they call those are corresponding parts. This side is corresponding to this side because they have the same measure. This side is corresponding to this side, and they're congruent, but they're corresponding in our congruent triangle terms because they both measure 10. And then the third side here, say if this is 15, and notice how I'm marking with 3 marks so that you can correlate which side is which. This side will also be 15 because it's corresponding sides. Now, as we go, what I like to do is I like to mark the angles with the color that are the sides, with the color that are actually congruent. So this side is congruent to this side, so I'll mark them purple. My green sides were congruent and corresponding, so I'll mark them green, and then my blue sides, both 12, are corresponding parts of sides, and they are both 12, so I mark them in blue. All right, those are congruent triangles. So congruent triangles are triangles with the same angle measure and side measure. I guess I should say measures. There are 3 of them, plural. So side measures and angle measures, if they're exactly the same, then voila, they're going to be congruent triangles. That's 6 parts, isn't it? 6 parts. In triangles, you have 3 sides, so 3 sides and 3 sides are congruent. So that's 3 sides and then 3 angles. 3 angles are congruent. So 6 parts are congruent. You have 3 angles and 3 sides that make a congruent set of triangles. All right, so this means all corresponding parts, which I explained before, the sides and the angles are equal in measure. Okay, congruent, which remember is equal in measure. All right. Okay, so when you see a triangle like this is what I just drew up at the top with different colors. When you see a triangle like this and you have one arc on each of those angles, that means angle A and angle D are congruent because they have a single arc. Okay. What that also means, because B and E have a double arc, that those angles are congruent, and they tie them together by arcing in the same amount. So 3 and 3, those 2 angles are exactly the same. Now, from that, then we have what we call a congruency statement. This is very important, this congruency statement. It has to be written a special way. You can't just write BAC and then FED. It doesn't matter. Um, it really, really matters that A in the congruency statement, see its angle is exactly the same as D. So you have A and D there. A and D are lined up in the congruency statement. If A is first, D has to be first. Okay, if you have C and what's C? C and F. If C is last, then F is last because they're congruent. And then you have B and E. If B is second, E is second. So they're all lined up that way in the congruency statement. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Now that is a valid congruency statement. If it is so, if it is a valid congruency statement, then all of the corresponding angles and sides must match, every single one. That's a congruency statement. Very, very important because they don't just keep them in that same orientation for you. Sometimes they turn one or they flip one or they flip both and then they turn them both. They just really try to mess you up by not putting them in the same orientation. So it's very difficult to tell, well, which angle is congruent to which angle and side. So you have to go by the congruency statement. And that's what I would suggest because it's much easier. Now, I'm going to show you one other thing. Because those are singularly dashed, they're congruent, and double dashed are congruent, and triple dashed are congruent, which is very nice. Okay, notice that this angle, D and A, what you notice is they have a purple and a blue side that line up with each other. Notice that the two F and C that are congruent have a green and a blue side that line up together. Both of them do. And then the E and the B, which are congruent, have a purple and a green side that form it. And that's another thing that's really, really important when you're actually doing triangles and finding the congruent triangles. If you don't have a congruency statement, then a lot of times you have to find the angles that are congruent by sides that are congruent and vice versa. So it's important to note that all of those are special congruency parts that are formed by congruent triangles, angles, and sides. All right, I'm going to stop this video so you can watch it, and then you can move on to the next one when you're done watching it, and we'll do the second part in video 2. And there you go.